Hey, welcome back. Or if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome to the channel. This is the third video in a miter saw station build and the final one. The first video we covered building cabinet bases with feet to get them up off the concrete. And then in the second video, we put in the tops, laminated them, leveled it, put it up against the wall, installed the miter saw. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about doing repeatable and accurate cuts using track, measuring, and then a couple of different ways to do stops. One is the Woodpecker system, which I'll get into a little bit today, and then just a old school style stop block. I'll get into that too, so stick around. So I want to bring you in pretty close to show you this. This is the left side of the miter saw station. And what I did is I put in the Woodpecker, they call it the multi-track, I believe, but it's got a T-track and a miter track in the same system. And then I also routed out a little other area here, and I'll show you what I did in the video, but put in a magnetic strip under that. And why I did this is because I try to use metric as much as possible, but here in the United States, pretty much everything is all imperial, so you can't get away from it. And I don't know that I would want to at this point. This is kind of how my brain thinks, but I find this so much easier to work with plans and measurements and everything. So I try to do both. So what I did, the Woodpecker system comes with, like I said, the miter track, and I got a couple of their, what they call StealthStops, and I really like these things because they're below the surface. So you can set them up, you lock them in, and you use just a little Allen wrench, hex wrench, and you tighten that down, and then you can flip it up, and then you have a little micro adjustment here that closes the loop here. I'll show you what I mean. You do that micro adjustment, and it kind of closes this gap while it's in the track. So what that allows you to do is get it pretty much where you want it, lock it down, put it in place, and then you can micro adjust it. And I just use a little square like this to measure up on the metric side, and same on the imperial side to get that spot on. And the reason I like it is because I can then leave it once it's set up and locked. I can flip it down and then it's out of the way. And I can use multiple ones of these. I got two. You can, I guess, use as many as you want. You can set up multiple spots, flip up each one when you need it, make your cuts, and then flip it down so you don't have to do a setup again. So that's kind of it for the StealthStops. I haven't used them a lot yet. I will say that I kind of default right now to using the old style stop because it seems like it's a lot more sturdy. This just rides in that T-track, and I'll show you in the video how I put a spline there, and then you got these two hex bolts. You tighten this down. This thing is rock solid. The StealthStops are pretty solid too, but if you give it too much of a bump, it will move, and they're small. So when you're putting a piece of wood here, you can't tell, but this is about a 1/4 inch this side of the fence. So there's some flat surface for the piece of wood to go on there. But when this is up, it's maybe a 1/2 inch that is hitting up against, which is plenty, but I'm just afraid I'm gonna move it when I get into a project, and sometimes I'm not the most careful with that. I'm butting it up there and I'm just going fast. So I default to this, but I like the ability to have that. The other thing I want to talk about is the way I put in this metric tape measure. So this is routed out, and it's pretty deep, and I don't know what the exact measurements are, but I did it in multiple passes, but it's maybe a little over 2 inches wide. So this is a significant piece that I had to router out, and I'll show you that. But what you can do is just put your plywood right up here and put another piece there and just sandwich this in the middle. That makes it so much easier to install this. I kind of did the tops first and then routed that out. But for the metric side, I want to be able to move this, if I ever change the blade to a thin kerf or regular kerf blade, switch it out, get a new saw, I want to be able to not have to come off of that. And the way you can do a stop block is you can actually put a dial coming off the side, coming off the wherever your measure is, and you can actually move the dial to indicate how far it is from the actual blade. So it can be independent of the actual where the stop is, if that makes sense. So like let's say that this cut is 19 inches. The tape measure can be shifted over here where 19 inches shows right here. And you can put your dial or some type of indicator to measure there, and you just know that's 19 inches. This is 19 inches, but the tape, it's going to read the tape measure here off of this. I wanted mine to be absolutely off the blade, and so this is just a little piece of metal on here just to protect the plywood. But the tape measure is, so I routed out maybe less than a 1/4 inch into there and put magnetic adhesive tape on here. So one side is adhesive and the other side is magnetic. And this goes pretty far down there. I just think almost 12 feet. And there I go again. I'm thinking an imperial again, which I can't help not do. But what it allows me to do is if I pull this off, which is pretty easy to do, I can pull it most of the way off and then shift it. And but until I actually pull it off all the way down, it's not going to move. And that was critical because I lined it up, but something's going to change in the future. It always does. You change your blade, you change your saw, and this is off. So I want to be able to move this and be absolutely straight off the saw. The other thing that I like about the Woodpecker track is that it is secured to the top with bolts. So bolts go through to the bottom of the actual base cabinet, and then they're just bolted in place. So what this allows you to do is, rather than a traditional T-track that's screwed down, if I need to move this for the same reasons, I replace the blade, I replace the saw, or anything, I can loosen those bolts from the bottom of the cabinet. I can shift this whole track down or back just a hair and then lock it back down. That way this tape measure, which is stuck to the actual track, can always be accurate if I change something. And this came from Woodpecker too, and the reason I went with 2 was because on my table saw, that measuring tape is 3/4 of an inch. I have a saw stop and it has both metric and imperial, but the tape measures a little bit wider, so I can see it better. Whereas here, this is I think a little bit less than a 1/2 inch, and the same thing here. And once you try to put those on both on the same one, it gets really small. So I like having both lines, so when I line this up with either my square or my stop block, I'm referencing across 2 lines on the imperial side. And it's the same thing when I'm using, if I'm using the little stealth stop, I'm measuring across 2 lines on either the metric or imperial. It just helps me to see it. I can accurately know it's right there, versus on the combination, you're limited, you don't get that. So that's going to do it for this 3rd and final video of the miter saw station build. I did have a couple things that I found with the Woodpecker's products, and this is the first time I bought Woodpeckers. They're pretty pricey, so I'm not a high-end kind of tool purchase. It's not typically my style. I do splurge on some things some of the time, and this was one of those times. The T-track, I found that, or the multi-track, was a little more expensive than some of your higher end track, but you can get a budget T-track for significantly less than this. And the StealthStops, I think these were a little pricey. So I did have one of the multi-tracks that had a little bit of nick, a little bit of damage in shipping. And then one of the 2 StealthStops, when you're tightening these down, you don't need to tighten it down very much. And I tightened it down one time and it cracked this plastic right there a little bit. And I don't think I tightened it down that much. Maybe it was too much, but it wasn't that much. And it cracked. So I sent Woodpeckers an email with pictures and a video of both the crack and the little bit of damage I had on the track on one of the 5 tracks that I bought. And I haven't heard back from them, so I'll let you guys know what their response is from a customer service standpoint. Usually if you're spending a little money on a product like that, I kind of expect a higher level of customer service, and they have a great name and a great reputation, so I'll let you know what I find out when I hear back from them, if I do. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you didn't see the first 2, you can click below and watch those. If you liked what you saw here or there, give the video a like, and subscribe to the channel because there'll be more content coming out soon and you can be notified when those videos come out. So thanks for watching. See you next time.